match officials in the next 18 months.
Again, yeah. I love his passion, but he does need to get a bit of a grip.
There is an element of cartoonishness to it because we've always talked about, Alan Walker's always talked about getting the cleaver out and all that sort of stuff, and turning him into mincemeat and ha. But really, we have to treat it the same way we would treat it if it was anyone else in Super League, even though Bernard's such a character that we all kind of feel this weird, endearing spirit towards. But really, it's way out of line with the way he is about match officials. And in this instance, he was offensive. He was effectively calling them a cheat. He was physically intimidating with them as well. And it's just like...
Can't do it.
And the sort of statement the Catalans came out with, I don't know if it was lost in translation at all or maybe what have you, but they kind of distanced themselves from the fact that it's the fucking leader of the organisation who's behaving this way.
Yeah.
They were just Catalans don't think this is appropriate behaviour and want to make sure it doesn't happen again at any other matches, and we're taking lessons. But it's the leader of the organisation that's behaving this way, so everyone else will follow suit.
Yeah, it's not good when the man at the top is taking that sort of approach.
It's not.
Really.
Look, I think it's fair to criticise referees. I think Liam Moore probably should be dropped for missing a card offence during the game, or certainly not. If not dropped, then kind of put on a kind of not warning or what have you. But you know what I mean. Something in performance review. It's fair to pull it up because he made a serious mistake there.
At least he made the right decision in the end, unlike James Child last week.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that referees should be accountable for things.
Yeah, definitely.
We don't have enough for them to be accountable for every error, and also players aren't accountable for every error, and they make way more than the referees do. But the line that we should never cross, and we don't want to cross on SLP, and we call out any listener who crosses it, is saying that there's, being offensive towards them in terms of questioning the integrity or, being personally abusive. That's a line that we don't think is right, and Bernard Gauch has crossed it clearly, and
again.
I don't even know if the punishment's enough. 4 games and $7,500.
No, it ought to be more than that, particularly if there's physical contact as well. That's just not acceptable. I mean, that's assault. So,
Well, we don't know how big the physical contact was. It might have just been grabbing to make sure he listened to what he had to say when he was firing abuse at him. And he might have been doing it in French, so Chris Kendall might not have understood what he was saying. But still, it's not right.
No. I mean, it's assault. So. If you've made physical contact with someone like that, it's assault. So, that I don't think that is enough, to be honest. They ought to have ratcheted up the fine rather than dropping it down, because effectively they fined him less this time than they did last time.
In a way, yeah. He's paid the same, hasn't he? He's paid the same amount out, but it's it's not increased.
No, they should have ratcheted it up. Anyway, there we go.
Catalans have also, it's been announced they signed Hull FC back rower Manu Mao on a 2-year deal. The 33-year-old will join up with the French side at the end of the season. So, loss for Hull. Catalans needed a bit of power into their pack, losing some of the players that they're losing. I wonder if they'll try and turn Mao into a middle forward and play him in spells rather than play him for a whole game in the second row. But
I think that's probable, Mark. I think that's would be a good move for him.
Right. We've spent as long as we've ever spent on Super League games. We've got one more to cover, and it was maybe the game of the weekend, certainly the game that had the most happen. So, don't expect us to talk in any detail about the Championship and League One, guys. But the Hull derby, closed Magic weekend in some style. It was 14-all at half-time, but it finished 34-28 in favour of Hull FC, even though there was a ton of lead changes and you couldn't really have called it until the very end. Chris Kendall was the referee. In terms of the team stats, Hull KR actually just about made more ground and did so at 1.1 metre per carry better average gain. They made 3 more clean breaks, but they couldn't turn that into more tries. They did. They scored 1 more try, but they couldn't turn it into more points, I should have said. They also had more tackle busts, more successful offloads, and a 4.7% better team tackle success rate. So really, they'll be kicking themselves for their own execution, both of try opportunities and goal kicking.
For the winners, the St Helens on loaner, Josh Sim, scored a try assist, including the winning try, try assist on 150 metres. Chris Satai, 140 metres. Jack Walker, 1 try assist, 7 tackle busts, 135 metres and 3 offloads, another big stat line. Danny Horton, 50 tackles and 16 marker tackles. Although for me, the best player for Hull, and he doesn't appear on this list, was Gale, who I thought had an absolute outstanding game.
Yeah, Gale was good. Longstaff was good,
brilliant,
especially in the second half. But I thought Jack Walker was the star of the show for Hull, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought Gale was my man of the match. Look, for the losers, Elliot Minchella, 1 try assist, 42 tackles, 10 from marker and 118 metres. Matt Parcell, a try, 7 tackle busts, 163 metres and 2 clean breaks. Will Tate, 155 metres. Ben Crooks, 8 tackle busts and 140 metres.
Yeah, we'll start with a double from Always in Our Shadow. He said, if Coop could kick or KR could pass backwards, they might have got something, but he didn't, and they couldn't, so fuck them. 5 debutants, Gale's best game in black and white, hashtag since 1985, hashtag the city is ours. He then said, just watched it again. Wilkins' bias is unmissable and was always a tosser playing 18 rugby at KR. Lewis needs to learn hat-tricks mean fuck all if you still lose. Ask Kieran Moss, so stop the posing. We'll take the win ban, although missed the incident. But how many times was Hadley reviewed all the Sims headshots? Hashtag the city is ours. Hashtag since 1985. Do you know what? I don't remember anything. Sims got close. I don't think Sims actually had any really bad tackles, but he was ramping up, and I thought one was brewing, and he kind of stopped hitting the head when he started hitting hard, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So he kind of got away with it, I think, Sims. But yeah, the Connor Wynn got a grade B late hit on pass, a 1 match penalty notice. I think, if I'm right, this was in the second half, and no, in the first half, late in the first half, and we were like, why is he not pulled it back for that? Because it was a sin bin in. It was a clear sin bin in, if it's the one I'm thinking of. But,
right.
But play flowed on from the late hit, and KR got actually quite close, took a play of the ball, and then the possession was turned over. So there wasn't a chance to go back and review it at all, because the play still kept going. But yeah, it was. If it's the one I'm thinking of, it was a bad one. The Hadley late hit on kicker, he got a 1 match penalty note for that, but he successfully appealed it down from a grade B to a grade A, so he has got no ban. I vaguely remember that one. I thought at the time it was on Gale, so fair enough. No, I didn't think it was as bad as the one that we talked about before. Yeah.
Right.
I think he was semi-committed. Anyway.
B. Dawson, 1902, says, wow, did I really just see that right? Luke Gale has actually just put in a good performance for Hull FC. Head exploding emoji. I might be biased, but it's definitely the game of the weekend for me. Both sides left everything on the pitch, and the video ref got every call right. Interesting. Longstaff reminded me of Minicello in his early years at the club. Sign him up. P.S. If Mr. Coops is listening, I left the money under your doormat.
So he agrees with you on Gale, though. Esther said, no voice left. What a game. All the newbies did great, and Gale's best ever game in black and white. Great atmosphere.
Joshua's granddad.
I mean, hold on, though. Gale's best game in black and white, it's not hard for it to get his best game, because he's missed half of the chances to play through bans.
He has, and he's been extremely average other than this, really.
Yeah.
I thought he was brilliant in this game. Joshua's granddad, still too many frailties in defence, but far more cohesive attack. All the 5 newcomers playing their part. Jack Walker giving a great display at fullback, catching everything directed his way. Huge effort from Big Chris, big minutes from Fash and Brown.
Yeah, I think it's the other forwards that should get the credit, because Chris Satai did what Chris Satai does. He played loads of spells, and Vete basically was on the field at the same time, so those two were going head to head throughout the game, and they were both being subbed off and subbed back on.
Yeah.
They must have used 4 interchanges for each player, but I guess it was worth it in the end for the entertainment and impact. But yeah, Jack Walker was immense. Carrying the ball, he was great, but taking the high kicks, he was faultless, and that's what he's always been. But I thought he was awesome. I thought he was a clear difference maker from, he was way better than Jamie Shaw's been. To be honest, that's what. Yeah.
No argument there.
Tom Andrews said, in the position to win, but conceded 34 points. Shame we had to be diddled by the video ref, and Kendall's performance left a lot to be desired. Some shite tackling from certain players, though. Brett Delaney has his work cut out with a few. Onwards and upwards to get hammered by the Wakey Galacticos next week. Up the fucking Robins.
And that Mike Webb 58 said, it may not be the biggest derby. In fact, it isn't, Mike. That's the truth. But they really do hate each other. Sat with the Rovers fans, and try after try was disallowed. Certainly expanded my vocabulary of expletives. Mikey Lewis is some player. Concerned that Saints might try and lure Cootie back to solve our goal-kicking crisis.
Yeah.
There we go.
Mark W. says...
I actually sat with the Hull fans for this one. I managed to sneak in to the other end of the ground, which you're not supposed to do, but I snuck in so I could sit with Scoots and Co. for this one. My language was expanded as well, but it was quite entertaining.
Not by Scoots, I'm assuming.
Oh no, hell no, all Joshua.
Mark W. said, I enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would, to be honest. Some dodgy defence at times, but the spines looked much better than they have of late. Obviously, Lewis was outstanding, but also it was the best I've seen Gale play at Hull. Scoot said, the main event, the game we were all waiting for or dreading. There was an air of fear, there were nerves aplenty, there was drama and tension, but despite our inability to actually clamp the ball in tackles, we did all right. The lone players slotted in well and looked good. I was impressed with Laidlaw on debut too. Bring on Wigan now. And Stozzer, 1981, said, as if you get beat by 5 debutants and kids, their disallowed were justified, especially the last one, which was 5 yards forward before dropping it over the line. Your badge-kissing hat-trick star is a massive FC fan who will soon see the light and come over to the bright side. Suck it up, Dobbins. At least nobody is ever against you, and there were no kick-offs between yourselves in the stands. Oh, wait a minute. There was. I'm not surprised if that happened. I wouldn't have been surprised if it happened at either end, but I didn't hear about it. The only fighting I heard about was a couple of Cass fans on the Saturday. But yeah,
I saw a Hull fan being ejected from the Hull KR end.
Right. So plenty to unwrap in this game. Like we said, several lead changes, some great performances. Both teams had players I've never fucking heard of. On the team sheets.
Yep, I'm with you there.
It was just a crazy fun game that had some really great plays in it, right the way up until the end, because that winning try was great play by Darnell McIntosh, working his way across the pitch, then throwing that massive pass for Sim to score his try, who'd had a hand in one of the Longstaff tries, that came off the back of Walker setting up the platform for the field position with some great runs. And then you say, like, Luke Gale actually playing well was a cherry on the top for FC. And then for KR, I thought Lewis obviously scored his 3 tries. He was great. I think don't be knocking him too much for the bashing the badge thing, because, to be honest, Connor Wynn was doing exactly the same. Joe Lovadua did something very similar, goading the Hull KR fans when he scored his try in the first half. It's just part of the atmosphere, I think. As long as fans don't go overboard in reacting to it and realise you can have a go and call him a wanker and whatever you want to, but don't throw stuff etc. because you know it's going to come back the other way anyway, then it's all part of it for me, part of the theatre. And Matt Parcell was so good, and he made that break, didn't he, when he came back on, even though he didn't look fully fit at that point. He came back on, made that break where he went up the right-hand touchline, got Hull KR into good field position, and I thought they were going to come back, have another lead change, and then probably another lead change in the last 5 minutes even, but Hull FC stood firm, and the video refereeing decision was crucial in that.
Yeah, so I couldn't see properly from our end of the field. When they surged under the posts, I think he scored here. And then I couldn't quite see on the video screen. I wasn't in a good enough position to be able to see properly. But it looked like his hand was on the ball on the floor, so presumably it was disallowed for him dropping it.
Yeah, well, I didn't notice a forward pass in the build-up, to be honest, but I didn't go back and watch that part because I was so focused on the bit. We couldn't see it, could we, in the ground? Because
No.
they didn't remove the fucking score graphic off the big
No.
screen.